Hello, everyone. Today we are gathering to request the international community to take serious decision about Afghanistan. We are talking about civilians who are victims of Taliban's barbarism. We are bringing millions of voices here who seek justice but have no access to fair trial and public hearing under Taliban's regime. Taliban and ISIS-K have committed crimes against humanity and violated human rights values since last decades in Afghanistan. Regarding to Article 7 of Rome Statute, Taliban committed and are committing crimes against humanity, such as murder, extermination, deportation of forcible transfer of population, imprisonment and severe deprivation of physical liberty, torture, rape, persecution against any identifiable group or collectivity on political, racial, national, ethnic, cultural, religious, and gender. Also, enforced disappearance of persons and other inhuman acts of a similar character intentionally causing great suffering or serious injury to body or to mental or physical health. People are being dehumanized in ethnic groups such as Hazaras, Hindus, and Tajiks. The suicide attacks against Hazaras and Hindus took thousands of lives. Such attacks on schools and educational centers on west of Kabul indicate the terrorists have organized and planned to inflict serious physical and mental harm against Hazara ethnic group. Terrorists intentionally damaged the morality of this ethnic group by taking their lives. The same organized and planned attacks took place against Afghan Hindu shrine in Kabul. Many of Hindus forcibly fled the country to save their lives. Indeed, the Taliban always denied committing the alleged suicide attacks against this targeted group and referred to ISIS-K crimes in Afghanistan. Literally, the brutal policy of Taliban and ISIS-K is the same. They have one unified mentality, which is killing innocent people. Daesh is carrying black flag and Taliban are carrying white flag, and they have the same symbols on their flags. There is no difference between these two terrorist groups. Daesh is committing suicide attacks. Taliban are killing by shooting, torturing, and executing people. Taliban also committed many suicide attacks against previous governmental employees and public gatherings, such as huge attack in Wazir Akbar Khan in 2017 and Polo Mahmud Khan in 2015, and many other suicide attacks that history and media archive them. The cemeteries in Kabul witnessed the mass killing of civilians in suicide attacks, hiding the identity, hiding religion symbols, hiding the ethnic dress code, make a big worry among these targeted groups. It reminds of dark shades of Holocaust and Rwanda. Taliban are classifying the ethnic groups and distinguishing them according to their belief and opinions. In Mazar Sharif, many Shia families dedicated part of their property for religious gathering, where women joined, and they also conducted literacy courses for women. After the Taliban took over the country, these families removed all Shia's religious signs from outside and inside their homes until not being visible in the eyes of Taliban. Because these families experienced the same fear during 1990s, the first duration of Taliban's government. Taliban have imposed their dictatorship and using their power and forced Hazaras residents of Patu and Kandi districts of Daikondi province to leave their homes. Many of these forced displaced people say that Taliban treated them inhuman and violently. Taliban have brutally tortured and killed the civilians in Panjshir, Andarab, Kapisa, Parwan, and Takhar. One of the eyewitnesses said that Taliban had shot the former National Army police, including his family members in Panjshir, after identifying him, without hearing from the victim's side. To weaken and exclude the minorities' ethnic groups, Taliban imposed systematic discrimination against civilians. We can see such discriminatory acts in different fields. One of the victims said that while distributing humanitarian aid in the 6th district of Kabul, Taliban have faithfully distributed food packages among their own families and acquaintances and even sold them in the black market. He added that he went 6 consecutive days and stood in a long queue to be able to get food. One day he took his son by himself, and Taliban were beating them and slashing them, and he and tens of other people couldn't get any food packages after such a long wait. They also beat his son, and he got severely injured. Taliban now take the food control predominantly and treat ethnic groups and slaves and plan to starve them. Civilians are enduring every day from all these inequalities and civil brutalism of Taliban. Taliban dehumanize children and women, who are the most marginalized groups in the society, by sexual exploitation. Rape is associated with humiliation and damage of the human dignity, which increases feeling less valued and resulted in being dehumanized. According to a victim's statement, Taliban soldiers were invading a house and asked the father of a girl that they came to marry his daughter by threatening them with their weapons. They forcibly took the girl by themselves. Her father told us that one of Taliban soldiers told him that you have to sacrifice your girl for the sake of Islamic Emirate, and it is an Islamic marriage. Her family has no news from that girl, and her mother lost her mind in terms of excessive shock. It is not an Islamic marriage. It is rape. Taliban cannot legitimize and cover their acts and clean their names under their flag symbol. In another case, Taliban stopped a passenger bus and took out all women and gang raped them in front of their husbands, brothers, and fathers' eyes in Kabul-Kandahar highway. They brutally tortured the women and killed them afterwards. Women have no privacy and security at all. Many girls were abducted by Taliban in Mazar-e-Sharif and were gang raped. One of the victims said how it's possible to continue living with all such fears and grief because some of the victims already committed suicide as they couldn't endure anymore. There is not only the one case or 2 cases. There are a lot of similar cases which spread the scope of rape as crimes against humanity against Afghan women. In particular, families in targeted ethnic groups are the first degree of victims of rape under Taliban's regime. If there is no security of women and girls, how it's possible to work, obtain education, and make decisions in different aspects of development of the country? We shouldn't overlook reality. The reality is that streets are not safe. The homes are not safe. The main root of this insecurity should be dried first until our girls can go to a school safely. According to the facts and victims' statement, Taliban recruits soldiers among children and destroys the next generation future by practicing the culture of extremism and brainwashing them and sexually abuse them. Taliban are hunters of handsome boys on the streets. Families have huge fear of sending their boys to school or playing on the streets. Taliban have no mercy on children, and they are hunters. Taliban are organizing themselves and recruiting teenagers to be able to resist and continue their authorities. They are well prepared for taking over the next generation moral and influencing them by imposing and training their system of violence, which is killing, torturing, committing suicide attacks. Few weeks ago, a forced confession of Afghan YouTubers by Taliban indicates again their hardship dictatorship. These YouTubers were convicted of reciting Quran wrongly and endured torture and inhuman behavior. But the reality is that Taliban are acting against what is written in Quran. They have double standard by interpreting religion for legitimizing their inhuman acts. The Taliban soldiers are listening to their leaders without understanding why all this violence should take place against other human beings. This ideology is too dangerous and is a huge felony in the world of humanity. The victims received the most severe punishment, such as stoning to death, beating and torturing, which all these acts are against human dignity. The daily facts that we are gathering screams the reality in Afghanistan. Taliban are taking revenge on people who work for freedom and do not accept their authority. According to Genocide Watch research, for crimes of genocide, some steps need to be taken by agents to commit genocide. Referring to the mentioned facts, the elements of calcifying, symbolizing, discriminating, dehumanizing, preparing, and organizing against targeted group of Hazaras, Tajik, and Hindus are met, and it's the threshold towards an upcoming genocide. It is a time to take action and not only speak. The criminals become more powerful day by day. Civilians are paying the price of their brutalism. I'm bringing the voice of those women who were chanting for freedom and peace, and got answered by Taliban with rape, torture, and being killed. I'm bringing the voices of children who do not know what waits for them under Taliban's darkness authority. Yes, tears come to our eyes, but it's not time to cry anymore. It is time to fight back and stand against Taliban's brutalist Islamic authority. We are talking about millions of lives. We intended to file these cases at International Criminal Court to advocate for defenseless people of Afghanistan. As Nelson Mandela said, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to live the life of others that will determine the significance of the life we live. Thank you so much for your attention.